Okay, as we continue on here with reflection and with-itness. Reflectiveness starts with with-itness because it's first and foremost a type of perceptiveness. We have to be perceptive. We have to know what's going on in our classroom. Perceptive with-it teachers constantly observe conditions and gather information to make good judgments about what is happening in a classroom and what can or should be done to address it. With-itness continually raises the quality and level of reflective thinking because it helps teachers observe more accurately and collect more complete information about classroom conditions. Here's the deal. Schools are out until April the 6th at this moment. Right now. That's 3 weeks. If those children are allowed to go back into the schools, it's going to be like starting all over in August with a twist. These children have been through, even at the high school level, have just been through something that is unprecedented. This has never happened before. When I was a kid, we used to have to practice bomb threats. We'd have to get under our desks for, in case of a nuclear attack. That was back when Russia and the United States were kind of at odds. And I distinctly remember that. But these kids are going to need teachers more than ever to maintain their calm, to get them back into the routines, and take it from there. See where it goes. See what happens. See how things work out. Reflective teachers plan on variations in student responses, constantly monitoring students. What I miss is my whiteboard, and I can't write on my wall. I don't think my husband would be very happy, even though I took down my wall hanging here to do this. in reactions to classroom events, and they're ready to respond when students show confusion or boredom. Classroom events can be something as simple as some kid throwing up on their desk, or in the case of several weeks ago on campus, we had come out of a meeting. I had a faculty senate meeting. We came out of a meeting and the ambulance was outside, and all kinds of things were happening. A student in one of the classrooms became ill, and you have to be able to shift. You have to be able to stay calm and just work it out. Reflective teachers actively monitor students during group activities. I would not even think about putting students into group work unless you had solid classroom management. Because if you don't have good classroom management with just a big group, putting them into small groups, yeah, it's going to happen. They need independent seat work, looking for signs that students need clarification of the task or the teacher's expectations. Consider the quality of developing student relationships, not how students interact with ideas, peers, and others in various settings. You need to think about developing student relationships. One of the things that you're going to find as you go through the education program are the first two things on the performance assessment as required by the EdTPA are student-to-student interactions and student-to-teacher interactions. You are held accountable in your own classroom even for student-to-student interactions, which brings you to the bullying thing. There is no room anywhere. I don't care if it's in a school, in a grocery store, anywhere. There is no room for bullying anywhere. But in your classroom, you're going to be held accountable for it. Where student-to-student interactions, positive or negative. If you're willing to examine the cause and effect relationships in your classroom honestly and search for reasons for student behavior, then you're likely to develop with-itness. In other words, if you are doing this, or if the students are doing something and it's getting on your nerves, or you're getting on their nerves, you need to find the cause and effect relationship and adjust it. You're always looking for what's working and what's not. And if it's not, change the channel. If your kids aren't learning the way you're teaching, then change the channel. You have to get them to learn. That's the bottom line. Witness is gradually developed by teachers as they actively reflect on the effects of their actions and decisions based on their students' behavior. After all these years, it took me a long time, but I came to realize that I'm not the most important thing in that classroom. The students think you are, by the way. The students' research has shown time after time after time, the students view the teacher as the most important piece of their education in that classroom, either positively or negatively. But you need to reflect. That's how you become the teacher you want to be. It's taken me a lot of years to realize that and to understand what's important to me. What's important to me in my classroom is that students are learning. But it's not just learning out of a book and memorizing a bunch of stuff. I want you to be able to tell somebody, a principal or a superintendent, when you're sitting there at a job interview in a couple of years, I want you to be able to tell them exactly what you're going to be doing in your classroom. And I want it to come from your heart, not out of a textbook. I don't want you to sit there and quote them chapter and verse. They can read a textbook. That tells me nothing. I've been a principal. I was chair of the School of Ed. I've interviewed people. One of the questions I always asked at McHenry when I was interviewing a potential either full-time faculty or an adjunct, especially full-time, I asked this of the current chair. I said, we think we're pretty good here. What do you bring to the table that's going to make us better? Or, in 5 years, what are you going to implement that's going to move us all forward 5 years from now? Those are tough questions to answer. But what is it that you bring to your job, to your classroom, that makes it better than it was yesterday? You always have to be thinking about that and reflecting on that. One aspect of the art of teaching, and teaching is an art. There's no doubt about it. Teaching is an art. Each of us enters the teaching profession with a unique set of experiences with people and with institutions. You all have different backgrounds. You all have a collective, different grouping of knowledge and how you think your classroom needs to be run. From these individual experiences, we as teachers develop a unique perspective or a set of expectations through which we view the world and from which we determine what we think life in a classroom should be like. Every classroom is different. Doesn't mean one is better than the other. They are just different, and that's okay. Your classroom needs to be unique. They need to know that when they go into Mr. or Mrs. or Miss so-and-so's class, this is what they can expect. They need to come in with a smile on their face, and you need to make them happy to be there. Not trudging down the hall saying, oh God, I've got this next. You want them happy to be there because they know they're going to learn something. Reflective practices involve personal risk because it requires you to be open to an exam of your own beliefs, your own values and feelings about which there may be great sensitivity. I have my own personal set of beliefs and values and feelings that are not shared by all of my colleagues. That's okay. I'm comfortable with that. That's fine. I'm never going to force it down somebody's throat, what I think or what I believe. But my philosophy of education has been developed over 39 years in a classroom, from first grade to putting hoods on doctoral students. I have a different background than a lot of other people. I have a different philosophy than a lot of other people, and I'm not going to apologize for that, but I'm always trying to make it better. But it does involve personal risk. You're putting yourself out there every time you step in front of a class. You are laying yourself out there wide open. When teachers are engaged in reflection about their decisions, actions, and behavior, they're likely to begin asking themselves questions such as, why do I have this rule? Why do I care so much about what happens in my classroom? How did I come to believe so strongly about this element of my teaching? I have very strong beliefs about certain things that excuse me, that other people think are silly. And I'm not going to apologize for that. In my own humble opinion, there's no place in a school building for a teacher, much less the principal or superintendent, to be in blue jeans and a t-shirt while they're in the classroom teaching. That's my own philosophy. Many people don't share that philosophy. If you're going to be a professional, in my opinion, you should look like one, you should act like one, you should speak like one, and you should write like one. But, there again, my philosophy. As teachers ask themselves these types of questions, they're likely to re-examine their core beliefs and values. Your philosophy of education is going to change. Perhaps from 1 hour to the next when you're teaching, from day to day, certainly from year to year, as you grow and you have more experiences and you increase in maturity level. It's going to grow. Do you think that it's necessary for you as a teacher to know what you stand for, what you believe and value? I do. It's important for me. It's important. It was just as it was important to me when I taught first grade, when I taught second grade, when I taught 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. It was very important to me to know what I believed and valued because I needed to know where the lines were. I needed to know the limits I set for my students. And when they stuck their toe across the line, and they will, that I could pull them back. Say, yeah, no, not today. Is it important that you be able to state clearly the ethical and moral basis for your decisions? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't have a reason that you're making a particular decision, then it's arbitrary. And if it's arbitrary, the students aren't going to respect you. You need to be sure that you are solid in what's going on and that you're making ethical decisions. You can't punish one student for this and not punish another one just because they're your pet or they're your best friend's son or daughter for the same offense. That's not how this works. An offense is an offense and the consequences must be paid no matter what. It's likely that you believe your students ought to have the attributes of honesty, respect for diversity, and fairness. You can believe that. That's the key word. I believe that of all my students. Have I been thrown under the bus before? Absolutely. Yep, and I swear when it happens, boy, I'm never going to do that again, and I do. I turn around and do it again. If so, it's vital that you demonstrate these behaviors for them. If that's what you expect from your students, then they need to expect that from you. It has to be that way. For it's well known that teachers are important models of moral and ethical behavior for students they teach. You have to be above reproach in your classroom. Teachers are important role models for behavior and character. The teacher's character and moral code set the standards and the tone or the climate for the classroom. I think I told you this, I don't remember. I was told in no uncertain terms when I came to Steelville 39 years ago that if I planned on spending time in the bars, I needed to find somewhere else to do it and not here so people didn't see it. Well, I didn't, but I was flat out told that. Reflective, caring teachers, however, willingly accept that it's their responsibility to design a program that allows their students to succeed. That's the whole point. Whatever you do, it's all about the kids. whatever goes on in your classroom, whatever lesson plans you write, whatever standards you hold them to, it's all about the kids, period. There is nothing else more important than those children. You have to remember, someone somewhere, some parent or guardian has entrusted you with their most precious thing, and that's their child. Never, ever do anything that's going to call that into question. They take responsibility for problems that occur during the school day rather than blaming others. You always look at yourself first. As a teacher, we always have to look at ourselves. But you have to be very, very careful, because too much of the time, teachers beat themselves up. That's not the point. It's not beating yourself up about it. It's looking at yourself and saying, what should I have done? What could I have done? I kind of equate this particular stuff to the Lutherans. I've been a Lutheran all my life, and in our liturgy, at the very beginning, it kind of starts out with the confession of sins, and the Lutherans, unfortunately, most of the time or too often, never get past the line that says, I, a poor miserable sinner. And they just hang their heads. I don't want you to do that as a teacher. They work every day to balance their own needs with the needs of their students. They're committed to growing as professional educators. Now, I want to come back to this one right here, because I want to make a very important point here. You throw yourself into your classroom. You throw yourself into your students' education. You work weekends, you work nights, you work all the time. You work during the summer to get ready for the next year. I'm going to tell you, that's how it is. About 11 years ago, come this fall, I was chair and director of teacher ed. I had Dr. Faisal's job and Dr. Goebel's job at the same time. Pretty much. I wasn't in name chair, but I was. And I was so busy, all I did was work. And my dad would say, are you coming up this weekend to see us? We'd really like to see you. And I'd say, well, maybe next weekend, Dad. I'm just so busy. And it was next weekend until I got a phone call that he was lying on the living room floor and the EMTs were shocking him and he was gone. That was my catharsis. My point of telling you this is please, whatever you do, don't let that happen to you. You have to find a balance. It's your job. It's not your life. That was my cathartic moment. Yes, I put everything I have into my teaching. Yes, I do. I leave it all on the classroom floor. But I made it my life, not my job. You're willing to learn the systematic ways of reflecting on your own practice so you can enhance your students' likelihood of success. It's all about the kids. Always. It's all about the kids. So, with that said, I'm going to leave you with this, and I will do another video, and we will keep going like this. I don't know what to tell you, and I'm sorry, about whether you're going to be back in the schools or not. I can't answer that. I cannot answer that question because I don't know. So as soon as we find out something, we will, of course, let you all know. But until then, just hang on. Don't panic. Nothing is going to be held against you. So because there's nothing you can do. So just hang on. As always, be safe. Keep washing your hands. Don't hoard the toilet paper. And take some time for yourself. Look up those websites. Look at that stuff that's out there. I'm telling you, this is unprecedented times. There is a ton of stuff out there right now that's free that you can look through, look at, get ideas for your own classroom, and see where you go. So until next time, I will sign off and I will talk to you later. Stay safe.